Legend has it that it was written by the Dark Ones, Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Roughly translated, Book of the Dead. The book served as a passageway to the evil worlds beyond. It was written long ago, when the seas ran red with blood. It was this blood that was used to ink the book. In the year 1300 AD, the book disappeared.
Lovely. Right then.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 1 of the Ash vs. Evil Dead Chit Chat with Tim and Matt special. This is going to be number 1 of 10. There are 10 episodes in the season. And these episodes aim to act as a kind of spoiler cast or sum up our feelings for each episode of the brand new television series Ash vs. Evil Dead. I am your host, Timmy Garrett.
And I'm
Slipping up on the old
well, you change it every week. It's different. I'm Matt Wilson.
I'm Matt Wilson.
No, I'm Matt Wilson.
Right, so, Matt Wilson.
Yeah.
Last night,
Halloween.
this morning, Stars premiered Ash vs. the Evil Dead, a franchise which we won't beat around the bush too much because we have spoken about this in our podcast, but a franchise that is not only near and dear to both our hearts, but was also one of the sort of like foundations and building blocks of our friendship.
For sure.
Evil Dead has been, and for a lot of people as well, I think, sort of like 80s, 90s, early 90s kids, Evil Dead is a very, very near and dear franchise, very, very loved and cherished franchise. And me and you have loved all of them. We've loved the first one, we loved the second one, we loved Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness. We even really, really liked the reboot, even though that seems to be quite divisive among some people. Don't know why.
Is it really?
It is quite divisive among people.
I've heard people say, "Oh, the reboot's shit," and I'm like, "You're out of your fucking mind."
Yeah.
The reboot isn't the same thing.
Yeah, it's not as comedy focused as the original ones, but it definitely has a lot of the same beats as them. It definitely feels like you couldn't mistake it for any other film other than an Evil Dead film.
Yeah, for sure.
Feels like an Evil Dead film.
It's not just some possession film, it's not just some zombie film, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. And yeah, when we first heard that Ash vs. Evil Dead was coming out, it kind of like, I don't know, it feels like one of those things that you always long for, but you sort of resign yourself to the fact that you're probably never going to get it. For example, a recent example would be the Final Fantasy VII reboot.
Yeah.
Complete grounds, from the ground up reboot of that. Never ever thought I'd see the light of day when that actually would happen. And it is. Same with this. It's, we loved the 3 films. We loved the reboot, and hopefully, and I think we both thought like, well, if they carry on with the reboot, maybe that'll become a new sort of like, spin-off or whatever, new part of the franchise in its own right. Never did I ever think we would get Bruce Campbell back as Ash.
No, I really thought we'd never see Bruce as Ash ever again. I thought that would be far too much to ask. To be honest, even though he speaks, he's never come out as like, I hate the Evil Dead. He's not like a William Shatner type where it's like, fuck Kirk. Okay. He's never been like that, but I'd imagine, having had 30 years of comic book conventions and such a massive Ash fan base follow you around, you'd think that he'd be a little bit jaded and a little bit sort of, oh no, let's not fuel this fire, let's just try and let people forget now. But it feels like, based on interviews that I saw before the show, it seems like he's embraced it and just sort of said, hey, this is what people want, you know, this is what pays the bills for me, and something I can get my teeth into again, then let's go for it.
Yeah, and and it is the dream team back together. It is Ash, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi back doing Evil Dead. And so when we first heard about it, I think like any fan of anything that you love so much, you're going to be a bit skeptical. And then we got the first trailer, and the first trailer was mind blowing, and if anything, probably made you even more skeptical because you were probably like, well, it can't be as good as the trailer. Because the trailer's so fucking good. Surely it's not going to live up to the trailer.
That trailer, the first one, was that just the one with the bloody chainsaw?
Yeah, the teaser one, but the first main trailer that came out, the first proper, sort of 3-minute long trailer or whatever it was, just looked amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean they all, even the bloody chainsaw one, I was just like, that whets my appetite perfectly. That does exactly what a teaser trailer should do.
Yeah.
And then the longer one, it was just like, it's Bruce Campbell! And he's wearing a blue shirt, and he's got one hand.
Yeah, and there was the big emphasis on, going back to, sort of like practical effects, going back to the sort of comedy, going back to putting, Sam Raimi putting Bruce through the ringer as far as like physical exertion goes. And like the trailer just looked like it had everything. And like, as amazing as the trailer looked, a little bit of me was sort of like, is it going to be as good, or have they just shown all the good stuff in the trailer?
Yeah.
Now, we haven't properly spoken yet about the episode. We've watched it twice each today.
Yep. I watched it back to back once where I was like, okay, I'll take some notes. Made about 2 notes, and then it was over suddenly, and I was like, oh. Just completely didn't make any more notes, and then watched it straight away again afterwards.
Yeah. So, quick synopsis of the series according to IMDb. Ash has spent the last 30 years avoiding responsibility, maturity, and the terrors of the undead. And the terrors of the evil dead, until a deadite plague threatens to destroy all of mankind, and Ash becomes mankind's only hope. So very quick, Matt, in a Twitter post, in a nutshell, what were your thoughts on the first episode?
I thought, for a franchise that basically, I mean, it's been around for over 30 years now, hasn't it? When was the first one out? 83, maybe? It's a long time. It's been around a long time. It has aged beautifully.
Yeah.
As Bruce Campbell's gotten older, the character seems to have gotten older. It's as if Ash has been living in that trailer for 30 years or so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was absolutely blown away by Bruce himself. I can call him Bruce. Blown away by all of the camera work, all of the set pieces. Just looked like Evil Dead 2, the TV series.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want.
It felt. I was just watching it in bed this morning, and I just had the biggest grin on my face.
The biggest rock hard grin.
Just from beginning to end, because you're exactly right. It felt like you were watching Evil Dead again. It didn't feel like this was like a modern reboot that felt modern and felt separate from everything else. Like you were saying, the camera work, especially just the way that the scenes were shot and locations were shot, felt like you were watching an old Raimi, horror film.
Yeah, it had Raimi all over it, from the point of view of the direction and everything, and it just felt right.
Yeah.
It just felt so right.
It was one of the best fucking openings to a TV series you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
It was absolutely spot on in every single way, shape, and form. So the one thing that I'm hoping is that it keeps the momentum. It should do. 10 episodes isn't that long.
I can't see it.
Yeah, if it keeps the momentum of this, then it will be one of the best TV series that I've ever watched. It was incredible. As an Evil Dead fan, you could not ask for more.
No. And if there are any Evil Dead fans out there asking for more, fucking what is wrong with you?
So we've both made notes.
Yep.
So what I thought we could do is just sort of chronologically just go through scene by scene, just talking about sort of like what happens, and then if there's anything we want to add, like any sort of like things we noticed or anything we liked, or just anything that we thought was interesting. Before we go into that, we are going to be Bruce Campbell / Ash is probably the only person we are going to refer as by his actor's name as well as his stage name, because it's Bruce Campbell, it's Ash.
Yeah.
All the other characters. So you've got Jill Marie Jones, who plays Amanda Fisher, the police enforcer commander. Ray Santiago playing Pablo. Dana De Lorenzo playing Kelly Maxwell, and Lucy Lawless of Xena Warrior Princess fame playing Ruby.
Yeah, which of course Bruce Campbell's had links to Xena for years and years.
Yeah. So when we go through these, we'll be referring to them as, Ruby, Kelly, Pablo, Amanda. Like, we won't keep to try and stop any confusion. We won't be using the actors and actresses' names, but I would like just to stress that is in no way disrespect to any of these guys, because they were all fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, that's the first thing. If we're there now, one of the things that worried me from the trailer was that Pablo. Anytime you see a minority in a film, you always think, is this just going to be the most sort of borderline racist stereotyping you ever see? And beautifully, it wasn't. He's not a stereotype at all. He's, it's just like, the Evil Dead are colorblind. Yeah, and that's fantastic, because I didn't want sort of a Borat knockoff trying to be funny. Yeah. I didn't want someone trying to pull focus from the fact that it's Bruce Campbell's show. And I think he was actually brilliant in it, and so was
the whole cast. The whole cast were absolutely stellar. They were all, they were all, because obviously, like we were saying about Sam Raimi likes to put the actors through the grinder, as it were.
Yeah.
They all, apart from maybe Lucy Lawless, who we'll get to when we get to, but all the actors got sort of put through the ringer a little bit, and they all just seemed to be embracing it and having a great time. And like, we'll get to the individual scenes and bits that we liked, but they acted amazingly. Everyone's dialogue was incredible. They were superb. They were all brilliant. Absolutely flawless.
Yeah, exactly what they all needed to be.
So we'll be referring to them by their characters' names, but just stressing that is in no way, shape or form like to sort of do a disservice to their acting or anything, because they were all absolutely amazing. So here we go. Season 1, episode 1, entitled El Jefe.
Oh, I didn't realise they had titles.
Oh yes.
Did it pop up at the beginning, or?
No, I just do my research.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Episode 1, titled El Jefe. So Matt, opening scene, what we got?
Opening scene was Bruce Campbell getting ready for a big night out on the town.
It was Mossy Haven trailer park.
Yep.
We've got him sort of like strapping into his girdle.
Yeah, it looks like it could be. It's designed to seem like it's like his straps that he wears.
Yeah.
In the films, but of course it's not. It's a girdle because he's old now.
He is old.
One thing I thought was fantastic was it is sort of like, throughout the episode you saw that he was sort of drinking, lying to women. He's a douche.
Yeah.
Ash Williams.
He is such a. It's kind of interesting if you have watched the films. He's such a far cry from the Ash of the first Evil Dead film.
Oh yeah.
Like it's almost insane how far down the rabbit hole of depravity and sort of.
But it does feel like it's like he's lived that way for the 30 years.
Yeah.
He could have been this hero, but he never really achieved it.
Yeah, he's been in this. I think you're meant to sort of imagine that he sort of pretty much went straight to Mossy Haven's trailer park.
Yeah,
and
if he ever wasn't there.
So I guess we're meant to sort of imagine that he's lived out this rotten existence in this trailer park with Eli the Lizard.
Yep.
And we sort of like see him like popping his wooden hand on, crafted by Italian artisans or whatever it is.
So he says.
Yeah. And grab some condoms and put some grotty looking aftershave on.
Yeah. He's he's the quintessential sort of. It reminded me so much of Riggs from Lethal Weapon, just for
Yeah.
a more resigned to his fate Riggs who
Yeah.
isn't going to put a bullet in his head.
And yeah, all the while he's rocking out to, I can only imagine the song's called "Come On."
Well,
Just,
you reckon?
Doing some sort of weird mosh. And then yeah, we see him head down to the woodsman, sort of like the local sort of like bar, I imagine. Well,
Yeah.
no, it is a bar. Who am I kidding?
Well,
it
could have fooled me.
Sort of summing up Ash's sort of like outlook on life and his existence. You know, he comes in, the first thing he does is take the dart off the dartboard and, you know, in sort of like cool slow motion, toss it over his shoulder and completely miss the dartboard. But he carries on. As far as he's concerned, he hit the bullseye.
Exactly. Not looking like much of a hero so far.
And then yeah, just a very funny scene follows where he sits down and the barman says, you know, we're closing in like 5 minutes, and he's just like, I want 2 of this drink and 2 of what the lady's having. And yeah, this like next bit was when I was absolutely pissing myself, because she's like turned away from him, and he's just like, you know, they say you should never stick your hand out in front of a speeding train.
Yeah, he's
She's
tapping
just-
it on the bar to get her attention.
Yeah, just like clumps it on the bar, and then she's like, "Oh, do they say that?" And he's like, "Yeah, but what they don't know is that sometimes there's an 8-year-old boy on the tracks, and you've got to save him." And then she says, "You saved an 8-year-old boy's life," and then he just says, "Well, you could say he kind of saved mine." It's just such a douchebag, amazing line.
He is a smarmy bastard in it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's perfect. Never quite grew into the role of the hero.
Yeah, and then yeah, he ends up having some, again, just repulsive sex with this woman in the ladies' bath stalls, whilst like slapping her ass with his wooden hand, like shouting, "Do you like my wood?"
Yeah, just bent her straight over the sink.
Yeah,
It definitely, it gave me that sense of, oh, it's quite nice, Ash finally sort of got some. But then I thought, well, actually no, he did get some in the other film as well. In number 3 he got some.
yeah.
But in number 2 he was all about sort of, so I'm a man and you're a woman, if you catch my meaning. And before they actually consummate anything, she gets deadited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of deadites,
Yeah.
mid coitus, she turns her head around, full deadite in the face, you know, saying something along the lines of, you know, your time has come, or the end is near, or something like that.
Yeah, we're coming for you. One of those things
Yeah.
the Deadites say.
To which Ash sort of like pulls out and gets all startled before, you know, it turns back to the regular woman, who is just sort of like, what's wrong? And he's just like, oh, something that hasn't happened in 30 years. And then it's just like, well, can we finish? And it's just like, yeah, but I have to be quick. And then the rest of the scene plays out with him having sex with this girl whilst looking very worried.
Yeah, his eyes are skitting all over the place.
Yeah.
It's lovely that what she says is, I'm coming, and then her head snaps round and she's the Deadite, has the Deadite face and goes,
Yeah.
I'm coming for you, or something like that.
That's right.
It's geniusly done, where you're like, oh my god, they're getting straight into it. This is amazing. It's not even 5 minutes in and we've seen our first Deadite.
Yeah.
And Ash had his dick in it.
And what I love is that he then goes back to the trailer park, goes back to Mossy Haven, because obviously this has spooked him. This has like freaked him out. The fact that the Deadites seem to be back, and then finds the Necronomicon, finds the Book of the Dead, and there's like a little baggie with some remnants of some marijuana in it. And he has a flashback, and I love how this is the way that the dead have been summoned again. He has a flashback to what I can only assume was like the night before or a couple of nights before, of getting high with this girl who has this French poetry tattooed on her wrist. And Ash, he knows what reciting the passages from the Necronomicon does, and she says, "Do you know any poetry?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know about poetry," but pulls out this flesh-bound Book of the Dead, and he's just sort of saying to her like, yeah, it's all written in like human blood.
Yeah, it's the way he's giggling when he says it, like,
Yeah.
it's written in human blood. inked in blood.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what's going to happen if you do this,
Yeah.
but he carries on regardless, and decides to recite the Book of the Dead, and this is where we get our sort of like late title drop.
Yeah, it's brilliant because he just literally, it cuts back to present time after he's remembered what he's done whilst really high, and just goes, "Oh fuck," and then Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Large as life on the screen.
Yeah. So yeah, that sort of sets everything up. Yeah, Ash got high with a girl and trying to impress her, and trying to get his end away, recited the passages that summon the evil dead.
I mean, it's goofy, but it sort of makes sense because he was one of those typical horror movie teenagers who went to the woods to fuck and smoke drugs and drink and stuff, and he came unstuck when all of his friends were like brutally killed by forces he couldn't comprehend, and since then he's been sort of running from it. I like that he had the book as well, that he's become sort of the guardian of the book almost.
Yeah.
He's so inept that he brings about possibly the end of the world.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to me. It makes sense that would be the way they're summoned, because he hasn't grown up. He is still.
Oh yeah, he's still
that
very
same
much just
guy.
this immature douchebag.
Yeah. Although he does seem to have gotten slightly worse, as you say, from the first film to this one. His douchebaggery seems to have increased. But I guess that's natural as well. It would over time.
Yeah. And then after the title sequence, we then sort of have our first, what feels like proper Evil Dead moment. After that, we have the classic first-person Evil Dead cam.
Yeah.
Sort of like coming up to this like big abandoned cabin mansion house thing.
Everything about this scene screamed Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, it was, and there was some, we'll get to it, but there were some beautifully shot bits in this which I fucking just loved. So yeah, we have the police state car pull up, and the two policemen, John Carson and Amanda Fisher, say that they've had like talking about they've had a call that that a woman was screaming or something, and they turn up and the house is like deadly silent. And as they explore the house, they come across Amanda comes across a dead body first of all, doesn't she?
Yeah.
There's a dead woman that she comes across first, and then she hears, I can't remember whether she hears Carson call out or something, but
it's the creaking, isn't it? She hears.
Oh, the creaking of the rocking chair.
Yeah. Oh, spoilers.
And yeah, they end up in this room, and this girl starts like whimpering or crying.
Oh, hang on, you've glazed over the rocking chair. I thought the rocking chair was a genius little throwback to Evil Dead 2.
Oh yeah,
the rocking chairs go and he reaches out for it and it stops just before his hand touches it. It did that only with the camera pan, which just looked tremendous. Just hearing the creak of the rocking chair, seeing them on screen, looking at something and looking pretty concerned about whatever they were looking at. The camera slowly pans round to reveal a rocking chair that literally has just stopped moving. The creaking stops just as it comes into frame.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that's perfect sort of reimagining of that rocking chair scene from the second film.
Yeah, oh definitely.
I had such a grin on my face throughout this whole thing. I was just like, this is this. I'm loving this.
And after that they then hear this girl whimpering who sort of stands up, and she's got like a white blanket over her, and she's standing with her face away, so you can't see who she is. She then removes the blanket, and you see that it's the girl from the Pot flashback with the French poetry tattoo.
They show her tattoo.
Yeah. And so the police, obviously not quite knowing what's going on, say, put your hands on your head or whatever, and
which she does, to her credit.
Yeah. But not before. Yeah, she puts her hands on her head and then twists her head around, 180 degrees, snapping her neck, and then grotesquely breaking all the bones in her body to sort of reverse.
Yeah.
Which way she's looking.
Her head's pointing in the complete opposite direction to what it should be, and then her shoulders look like they sort of almost dislocate to bring her arms round, so that her arms are still backwards to her head, but they'll be more functional. Oh, it looked tremendous. How good did that look?
Oh, it looked amazing. It looked
It reminded
so good.
It looked to me, it was almost like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
Just that sort of like, I'm going to rearrange this body for my own needs.
She then, just before, and this is my kind of like my highlight of the episode, because this is the biggest question that I feel was raised in the episode. She attacks Amanda and John, and when she rounds on Amanda Fisher, she screams at her, "We know who you are." And that for me was sort of like, do we? Do you? Well, do you know who is she?
Yeah, what's special about her?
The only thing that I can sort of imagine, because we find out that she can handle herself with the dead and stuff, is that maybe she is some sort of relation to Ash, or I think there must be some sort of connection to Ash or Ash's family, something like that, because she has this connection to the Deadites that only really Ash has.
Yeah, I suppose it could be. And also, I've forgotten her character's name, so I'm going to break our rule straight away. Lucy Lawless.
Yeah.
Later on, finds
Ruby.
her.
Yeah.
Ruby, is it? Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll edit that out so that I just say Ruby finds her in the diner.
So that raised for me the biggest question. Who is Amanda?
Who is this woman? What does she want?
And the only thing that I can really sort of think of at the moment is that she is either some sort of relation to Ash, or maybe some sort of offspring of Ash.
Could be. It seems like he's lived a fairly promiscuous lifestyle.
So yeah, I thought that was sort of like a big question to throw up. And then just after that, we get a glorious impalement of her hands through a pair of scissors.
Oh yeah.
Which again, just classic Raimi, just very violent, very nice.
Yeah, again, everything felt like something new, but also something instantly recognisable, because it just spoke to me of like the pencil through the ankle in the first one, and I mean, also it felt more like they'd taken sensibilities of the violence of the remake and sort of inserted that style of violence in, because things explode in certain ways, and are slashed in certain ways.
Carson then, I believe, takes a shot at her with the shotgun before getting impaled on some antlers.
He blows off half her head.
Yeah.
And they think it's over, but then she gets straight the fuck back up.
Knocks him onto some antlers, impaling and seemingly killing him. And then, one of my favourite sort of shots of the episode, Amanda pulls out what looks like to be like a tiny magnum or tiny pistol from her sort of like boot, and as the Deadite rounds on her, she then finishes off with another headshot, and it goes to this beautiful shot of the blood sort of like getting splattered on the drapes in this sort of massive triangle, like coning out, and then you get the kung kung of all the shutters like shutting, and like the light gradually like completely being extinguished.
That bit was genius, cause
I just loved how that few seconds were shot. I thought they were absolutely stunning.
Yeah, that was a testament to sort of Raimi lighting.
Yeah. And then the lighting continues with Carson, and she then looks up at the ceiling. Carson is now a Deadite. And he runs down and then comes to attack her. And with the lighting in this scene, because he's knocked the chandelier or something, and so the little sort of scuffle that they have on the floor feels quite staggered, because you only see the bits where the sort of like swaying of the light sort of shows. And I thought that was really nice, and that felt like quite genuinely horror.
I mean, this whole sequence had any sequence with Deadites without Bruce Campbell feels like the scariest horror film ever.
Yeah.
Whereas any sequence with Deadites and Bruce Campbell, you're cheering constantly. You don't have time to be scared.
Yeah. And then there is also the classic throwback, one of my favourite Evil Dead sort of tropes. Midway through Carson attacking Amanda, she points the gun at him, and he just goes straight back to being Carson, crying, sort of saying, "Oh, we're friends," begging for life, mercy, sort of thing. And and that's again classic throwback to the other Evil Dead films, and one of my favourite tropes. I'll never get bored of seeing sort of Deadites just switch back to normal humans before sort of like becoming the Deadites again.
Yeah, it's nice because it reminds you that these people are fighting their friends at the end of the day, but more than in a straightforward zombie flick where you might see someone have to, like in Shaun of the Dead, where he has to shoot his mum.
Yeah.
You know, that's a heartbreaking scene, but you do know she's gone, she's died, she's a zombie. With the Evil Dead, they can fuck with their victims a bit more and sort of just switch them back, and it's like the people are still in there, and it's always been a question mark whether or not the people are still in there or not.
Yeah.
Is that Carson saying, please don't shoot me?
Yeah.
And then the Deadite retakes his soul, sort of thing, or is it just the Deadite fucking with her? Who knows?
I'd like to think that the person is still in there, and it's the Deadite, sort of like letting them out for a few seconds. Just the Deadite is completely in control.
Yeah.
And it's just the Deadites mocking evilness.
That's what I like to think as well, but it does sort of paint anyone who's ever killed a Deadite in quite a bad light.
Yeah.
Well, couldn't you have tried to heal this person or save them in some way?
So Amanda then kills Carson, blows his head off.
Yep.
In
an amazing blood through the mouth shot.
Yep. We then cut back to Ash in the trailer park, who has got a business card to ring Lionel Hawkins from Books from Beyond, in relation to, Ash now knows something is up, and we have to assume that Lionel Hawkins is the guy that he, has gone to previously about the Book of the Dead to talk to. He says that he, spoke to you years ago about the book or something.
It's brilliant the way he mumbles a certain book. It was Bound in Human Flesh.
Yeah, Bound in Human Flesh, that one.
Mumbles it.
Yeah, so we've got to assume that episode 2 or 3 is going to take place talking to Lionel.
It seemed like they were heading there next. So
yeah,
unless he gives in, and I don't know. We'll get to that.
Ash then we get introduced to Vivian, who's one of the other residents at Mossy Haven Trailer Park, a lovely old lady who lives opposite.
That Ash seems to abuse relentlessly.
Yeah. Ash says to her that he's thinking, he's skipping town, but can you clean my trailer when I'm gone?
Yeah.
No heavy no heavy lifting, but then is just giving a list of horrendous tasks to do.
Hands her a pair of industrial-sized rubber gloves, tells her to clean out his septic tank.
Yeah, conquer those clogs or something, I think he said. And, and she's sort of like, okay, honey bun, like, no worries. And then she turns into a Deadite briefly, sort of saying something, again, something along the lines of, we're coming for you, that sort of thing again, before, quickly turning back, and Ash is sort of again left confused as fuck as to what the hell is actually going on here.
It's sort of as if he's released them, we know that much, but it's like they're not quite strong enough or something.
They're not attacking him just yet. Ash then goes to work because he has a plan in mind that he's just going to go to work to Value Stop, but he's still, he's still, it's a different store to, what is it, Smart that he works at before.
Yeah, this is one of my 2 complaints, and I mean, it's such 2 minor complaints. Well, actually, no, one possibly big complaint, but this is such a minor complaint. But I don't know why they didn't stick with S-Mart.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be a reason. In the maybe it's to imply that he has just gone from job to job and has never achieved a rank higher than stock boy.
I guess.
That it might be to to symbolise that he's such a stop out. He just can't hold a single job down. He's just going from bottom rung of various different massive retail stores.
I guess it makes sense because in this scene he speaks to his manager and asks if he can cut out early, and his manager seems like he has no time for his shenanigans. It's suggested that Ash isn't the most reliable employee.
Yeah, Mr. Roper sort of like says, "Are you using your fucking lizard as an excuse again to get out of work?"
Yeah.
And so and then says to him, you get your pay at the end of the day. Now clean up, bring me these light bulbs and don't break any. To which point Ash picks up this box of light bulbs. They all fall out behind him. It's just a comedic sort of slapsticky moment.
I mean, Sam Raimi's a huge Three Stooges fan.
Yeah.
So it just felt like Three Stooges in one man.
Yeah.
Dropping every single light bulb and then shushing them because he doesn't want them to
trying to sort of like carefully step over them whilst crushing them, which then brings us to one of our other main protagonists, Pablo. Pablo comes in with a bin and he's like, I've got this man, and straight away you can tell that Pablo idolizes Ash.
Yeah.
Pablo's a younger guy. Ash says to him, I'm thinking of skipping town, I've got problems, and Pablo's like, you can't leave, man, like you're the coolest thing about this place.
He goes, yeah, I know, but
yeah, he's like, yeah, I know, and then he's saying like, if I can't tell you, I don't want to fill your worry your tiny little brain, or fill your tiny little brain with my problems or whatever.
Yeah. So such a douche, so arrogant, and just a complete jerk, but this kid buys into it completely. Pablo just idolizes Ash.
Yeah, Pablo is absolutely in love with Ash, and then to try and stop Ash from going, he's like, I've got my new sort of like housemate or flatmate or whatever it is sorted out, so that's another person who could like maybe help you out with doing chores or something, by the sounds of it.
Or being a lookout while you're taking your naps, he says.
Yeah.
Just what an arsehole.
And Ash says like, oh, who is he? And Pablo's like, oh, it's not a he, she's over there. And we then see Kelly, who's this sort of like gothy, grungy looking sort of like chick, and Ash just beautifully executed line. He's just straight away without missing a beat.
Thinking about it.
Ah, she's filthy and fine. It's such a good line. And then Pablo just like follows it up with, she haunts my dreams. Just kidding. She does though. It's just such a brilliant, sort of two of the funniest bits of the film dropped by both these guys within the space of a few seconds.
Yeah. Well, for sure. I can imagine we're in for some tasty banter between those two.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And so Ash, then being Ash, decides to go up and introduce himself to Kelly just before he leaves. He says to her like, oh, you need to let your mother know that she passed all the right genes down to you. To which Kelly's like, my mum died 6 months ago in a car crash. And what was and the other thing as well, sort of like saying like, I'm sorry that you couldn't have had me or anything, something like that. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, at some point with us working together, it would have crossed your mind,
Yeah, whether or not she could fuck him.
Yeah.
It's genius as well when she drops the line like, my mother died 6 months ago. He's so unsympathetic. You think he's going to be like a human being for a second.
Yeah.
But he just goes, you really shouldn't drop that sort of bombshell into a conversation with someone you just met. It's rude.
Yeah.
Which is sort of true, I guess. But
and then he just goes to comfort her with his wooden hand.
Yeah.
It just looks funny because it's just this hard, dumb-looking brown hand, sort of just going, and just looks like it's going to sort of poke her in the face.
Oh yeah, it's not one of these well-made prosthetics that you see people in like the first world have. It's just a lump of wood shaped like a hand.
So Kelly then uses some CQC and threatens Ash. So yeah, their first meeting doesn't go so well. We then cut to the Blue Lake Diner, where Amanda Fisher is now, who's the police commander, in plain clothes now. And then we find out when the guy brings up the coffee, sort of asks how she's doing, and she's like, there's internal affairs, sort of investigating her for a potential homicide. She's having to do sort of psych reports and all this sort of stuff, and he's just like, I'm sure you'll be back to work before you know it. And then when he walks off, she glances over at a girl at another table, who again, deadite face on this girl.
Yeah.
And
it's wonderfully done because they do this thing where they sort of turn down a lot of the background noise.
Yeah.
In the scenes just before a deadite is going to appear, and you can tell that the actors have clocked something's wrong but can't quite figure out what it is, and you as
Yeah.
the audience are watching it thinking, well, there was just some change, some very slight change to the atmosphere, and it is literally they've just turned down some of the ambient noise. And,
Yeah.
you know, you can still hear a little bit of it, but it just sets this perfect mood. And then when she looks up and sees the little girl staring at her as a deadite, it's just like, oh shit, son.
Yeah. And then
turns
yeah.
out, no, shit isn't on.
Again, as quick as you like, just back to a normal girl again.
Mm.
And then I've got written in capital letters, Xena appears, she knows something.
So Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby appears. She sort of like, sort of appears from the booth next to Amanda and says, says, "Oh, what's up?" or something, and like Amanda's like, "Oh, I don't know, I can't trust my eyes these days," or something.
Yeah.
To which Ruby sort of cryptically says, like, "Oh, sometimes it's the things you don't think your eyes can see, which are the things you can see," or something along those lines to insinuate that Ruby knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Ruby
I
knows.
feel like my guess is that she's some sort of monster hunter or like demon hunter of some description,
Yeah.
sort of a Constantine style character.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's the biggest sort of question mark for me.
Yeah. More so than Amanda's
Yeah,
past or
because
heritage.
Amanda is definitely, I imagine, gonna be a good guy.
Yeah.
Whereas Ruby, is she gonna be a hindrance to Ash and the gang, or is she gonna be, helping them, or is she part of the Deadites? Is it going to turn out that she's like a leader or something, or is she just going to be some sort of cryptic shaman-y type character? Like, there's a lot of question marks around her and what she's doing. Does she have previous history with Ash? Is she, is it going to turn out she might be like an old flame or something? Have their paths crossed before in the last 30 years?
We just don't know.
We just don't know.
No.
And
My
that
guess
her
is
only
no.
bit.
But
Yeah.
my guess is straight up she's a monster hunter and she's
Yeah.
going to be pissed at Ash for being so blasé and summoning the end of the world.
Yeah. And then she gets up and walks out, and that is the last we see of Ruby for this episode.
A good intro though.
Oh yeah, very
Just-
good intro.
just
Yeah,
piques your interest.
Yeah, exactly, which is what a TV series needs to do.
Mm.
We then go back to the Value Stop warehouse, with a scene which is just a definite lovely throwback to Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness.
Yep.
Uh,
Is it called Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness, or is it just called?
It is.
Evil...
It's called Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness. I was looking at it today.
What do you mean? It's called Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness.
If you look at the top of the DVD box,
Yeah.
have you got it with you?
No.
No, it says right at the top, Bruce Campbell versus, and then the Army of Darkness.
Oh. I don't think mine does. Mine definitely says Evil Dead 3 on it.
Yeah.
Well,
they say
while we're on this subject, this leads me. Actually, no. Oh wait.
Yeah, we're about to get onto where that actually falls.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we have a big throwback to the scene where Ash is fighting all the mini Ashes. Only this time it's lots of little dolls.
Yeah.
Which is a nice scene.
It's also sort of reminiscent of the versus the Hand.
Yeah.
in number 2, because he's smashing shit on his face and whatnot.
Yeah.
Once again, you can tell Raimi's been involved.
And then sort of very slapsticky, sort of like little fight scene, and then Pablo comes in to save the day.
Yeah, in a spectacular fashion.
Oh yeah, absolutely smashes. Is it a shovel? Shovel he uses?
Yeah.
Smashes the shit out of the doll.
Yeah.
So Pablo does that, and then this is the point where sort of Ash gives the exposition as to what's been going on, because Pablo reveals that his grandfather or uncle?
I think he said his grandfather.
Is a shaman. Was a shaman.
Yeah.
Is a mystic, something like that.
Something wizardy.
And always sort of like spoke to him about evil, or lurking in the shadows and stuff. And he says like, I always assumed that he was talking rubbish. Did you say I always assumed it was the meth or something?
Yeah, he makes some throwaway comment that's I didn't catch it in the first viewing, but I caught it on the second one, and I was like, hang on. He makes some comment where you're like, oh, that suggests that it's not as mystical as you might assume.
Yeah.
Which is again another classic sort of Evil Dead thing, where the mysticism is sort of almost like Terry Pratchett, where the mystical stuff is always tempered by the mundane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue.
And then this is where Ash gives his big exposition about why this evil shit is following him around. And it's very well done. It's as he's sort of telling Pablo, scenes from Evil Dead 2 are sort of like shot or projected on the boxes behind him.
Yeah, it's a nice way of sort of telling the story and giving the long-time fans a sort of nostalgic look. Because after I saw that, I did think to myself yesterday I should watch the trilogy before watching the first episode, but then I thought, I've seen it so many times, I know it so well, I don't need to. But then I was like, watching that, I was like, oh man, I do want to though. So I had scenes from the first one and scenes from the second one.
Yeah.
And you just see them and you're just like, oh my god, that looks so much fun, I might watch them again.
Well, I actually went out and rebought them on Blu-ray today.
Nice. I remember, just as a nostalgic aside for us, I was with you the day that you were going to first buy them. We'd seen them already.
Virgin in Canterbury.
Yeah, Virgin Megastores in Canterbury, where you were refused service on the grounds that birth certificates are not proof of age. Which is funny. I mean, you were just 18, weren't you?
I think I was, yeah.
Well, you must have been if you had a birth certificate. You wouldn't be showing them a birth certificate saying like, look, I'm 17.
That's true.
But yeah, everywhere else was cool, just Virgin. Yeah. Virgin had a problem with you that day.
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean, because when I went on IMDb, it was either IMDb or the Wikipedia page for Ash vs Evil Dead. It says precedes Army of Darkness.
Now, this is my other problem, as you've probably worked out now. Evil Dead 2 ended with him going into the past. Into the past. So, this should really... I mean, in my mind, it should have been set after Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
And just have him have it as, like, another one of Ash's mad stories. I mean, it's no more insane than I fight demons to say I also went back in time. It just feels like not owning the timeline, because I've heard things about Sam Raimi saying that Army of Darkness isn't part of the Evil Dead franchise and stuff, and little things like that, and I'm like, what's happening? Of course it is. It happens in Evil Dead 2. That's where it starts, and it ends in Evil Dead 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, I personally, I'm just including Army of Darkness in it, because when he just says, I'm the only one that got away, it doesn't show footage of him getting away.
No.
So I'm just going to assume that he's just deciding to miss out the whole time travel bit and just saying, I'm the only one that got away. Not going to mention that I went back in time and did all this other shit, but I got away in the end, which he did.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to include. I know what you mean. I was sort of a bit like, kind of weird that they're not. There's no reason not to mention it.
No, of course.
There's no reason at all not to mention it in there. Like it just seems a bit weird that they just left that film out, kind of thing.
I think maybe it might be one of those things where for newcomers it might be a bit hard to digest. Oh, there's time travel in this as well.
Yeah.
Especially since Army of Darkness had like 3 different endings.
Yeah.
Which ending is canonical. I mean, I'm going with what you've just said. I like that idea of just saying, well, the ending that's correct is he gets back to his own time and he fights the witch in S-Mart.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to go one step further. That's what got him fired from S-Mart, and that's what... pass me that pen. We've got a bridge comic book to write.
Is it value stop? Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness, everyone, it happened. So that's fine.
Yeah. And then Pablo starts saying that his grandfather used to speak of a chosen one called El Jefe, and he says, I think you're Ash, I think you're El Jefe, but Ash, in the current state he's in, just running from that responsibility, sort of says, Pablo says like, you can't outrun the dead or something, and he's just like, just watch me, or something like that, and walks out. Then we get Kelly having a sort of Skype FaceTime chat with her dad on the phone. Now, I noticed something here, and I haven't actually looked up online yet, and I don't know if you noticed it, but I think there is something about this camera shot which is a bit of a throwback. Did you notice it?
No, I don't think I did. When she's talking to her dad on the phone.
When she's talking to her dad on the FaceTime, on the little video bit, and he's holding the phone, just before there's the knock at the door, just after there's the knock at the door, the phone looks up, and it looks like the ceiling is rafters.
Oh, really?
I'm not 100% sure.
If you spotted that, you're my new king.
Because it looks like the ceiling is rafters. It looks like a bit of a weird ceiling. And when I watched it again today, I watched it again, and I'll have to, we won't say whether it is or not until we actually do hear it or see it on some sort of thing, making of thing or something where they say, oh yeah, we had no ceiling in that bit, just rafters, as a callback to, Evil Dead 2.
I mean, that's a genius little love letter to the fans.
Yeah, because for those that don't know, like, that you don't even really notice it if you watch Evil Dead 2 just normally.
Oh, I noticed it, but I'm a little geeky douche.
But there are so many bits in Evil Dead 2 where the camera just catches the rafters of the set, because it's not, it's just not.
Some of it was filmed in an actual cabin.
Yeah.
A lot of it, particularly bits where they were blowing holes in walls and whatnot, and needed to have dollies running through for cameras and whatnot. A lot of it was on a set, on a soundstage.
Gluing the whole thing together.
Yeah.
And I think that is what they do in this scene with the mobile phone.
Well, I'll probably rewatch this again, because I can't wait till the next episode. I wish I had a box set of them just to sit down and just marathon them.
Yeah,
like, girls, go to your rooms.
I could be wrong, because there's definitely rafters, but it's black behind them, and I'm not sure if it's just black that's the colour of the ceiling, or whether it is meant to represent the thing. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So basically, Kelly calls her dad, and her dad's freaking out because her mum has just turned up.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't flat out say it, but
yeah. But like he's saying, like, oh, the book your mum brought me is here, or something, and like, there's then a knocking at the door, and he says like, oh, she's here, and then you see the door open and this silhouette in the doorway.
Yeah.
Before the phone cuts out, and Kelly says to Pablo like, holy fuck, my mum's there. She died 6 months ago, which we obviously already know. I need to get there. And Pablo's like, get on the bike, I'll drive you. And so she goes outside, starts up the bike, and at this point everything's going Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clouds are all going mental, there's wind, leaves blowing around everywhere, and then Evil Dead cam starts going through the car park.
Yeah, the old one.
And I love this bit because it smashed through the car window with someone in the car.
Yeah.
And like, the person in the car just sort of screams and goes, ah! Goes back. I loved that bit. That was so good.
It is great. It's awesome as well, because as an audience, we've never seen what's flying at people.
Yeah.
The best we can assume is it's one of the things at the beginning of Evil
Sam
Dead 2. With a block of wood with a camera stapled to it. But yeah, you don't know what the thing that they're seeing that scares them so much is.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that it just like shot past this person so close to them. Because I think Ash sees it one time and his hair turns white, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and then Pablo has a little altercation with Mr. Roper, because he's like, I'm leaving. I'm taking what's her name, Kelly, to go to her dad's. And so he gets on the bike, they manage to get away just before the Evil Dead cam gets them, and it gets Mr. Pablo instead. Mr.
Yeah.
Roper. Mr. Roper.
Mr. Roper.
So
I think we'll be seeing a return.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You don't actually see Mr. Roper die. You just see him sort of scream as the camera goes like close up. And yeah, I think there's there's gonna be a trip back to Value Stop to get supplies, guns, whatever, weapons, and they're gonna have to fight.
Either that, or he's gonna be so pissed that they all abandoned him.
Just follow them.
Yeah, he's gonna follow them. Or
Like Nemesis.
yeah, he's gonna be like Ash instead of stars.
Yeah, we then cut back very quickly to old friend Amanda Fisher, who's gone back to the house, which has now become a crime scene. And this scene here is just really there for her to see Carson's, a bit of his shirt on the chandelier, I think it is, or on the antlers, one of the two.
Yeah.
So she knows he was on the ceiling, and that it's just there. She now can clarify to herself that she's not crazy. She knows it happened, so presumably she's going to be out trying to investigate, maybe trying to find Ruby, trying to find some answers as to what actually is going on.
This is what makes me think that her secret, when they say we know you, her secret is that she's had some sort of dealing with them in her youth, or she's seen them as a kid and is now like years later sort of thinking to herself, oh, it was all, everyone's told me all my life it was all bollocks and I made it up or whatever. And it's not only the latest incident that she was talking about when she said it did happen, it was like the thing from her childhood. Possibly, I don't know. I like to speculate sometimes.
We then cut to our sort of big final scene of the film.
Yeah.
So we're back at Mossy Haven Trailer Park, where Ash is trying to sort of like get his last few bits and bobs together. And Pablo arrives with Kelly. Kelly's like, what the hell are we doing here? And he's like, there's someone who can help us.
Yeah, Pablo's hero worship of Ash knows no bounds, apparently.
Yeah. He's like, there's someone that can help us with this problem. We need to go here first because he can help us. So yeah, they go into the to Ash's trailer, and Ash is still like, I'm not helping anyone. Like, you kids are on your own. I don't give a shit. I'm getting out. I've got my own mission to do. And that is until the Deadite attacks, who is the groundskeeper from earlier on that we saw, who Ash nearly reversed into after we met Vivian for the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Evil Dead cam starts, like attacking the trailer, and then
Deadite arm straight through the window.
Yeah, straight through the window. As soon as I saw Kelly backing towards the window, I was like, "Don't back towards the window."
What are you doing? Look out, Kelly!
Straight away. And this was one of my favourite visual moments from this scene, because this arm is sort of coming through the window, sort of strangling Kelly against the wall, and Pablo is on it like a shot. He's trying to yank the arm off, and he's got both his legs up on the wall.
Yeah.
And it just looks ridiculous but amazing. Like, Pablo is just up on the wall, both legs on the wall, trying to yank this arm off. And I loved that shot. I loved seeing Pablo just completely just in this ridiculous position, and sort of showing how strong the Deadite's arm is as well.
Yeah, and also the fact that Pablo is the hero that Ash should really be. He's got the bravery to get shit done, but he just doesn't have the strength or fortitude to get it done.
Yeah. And Ash is there sort of having a bit of a crisis of conscience. And then, like you said, again, an effective use of sound, because it goes sort of close up to Kelly, and all the sound sort of like dulls out to the background, and she's just sort of looking at Ash, pleading, like, barely getting the words out, help me.
Yeah.
So
it
Ash
sounded a lot like when his girlfriend said it to him in the second one.
Yeah. So Ash then grabs an axe off the wall. Amazing slow-mo throw.
Whoa, did you notice the chalk outline?
No, I did not.
When he grabs the axe off the wall, where he grabbed it from, there's the chalk outline of an axe, like in the second one when he's first looking for the chainsaw, and there's the chalk outline of the chainsaw. For some reason that resonated with me so much, because in that scene when he's looking for the chainsaw in the second one, he opens the shed and he's looking through, and there's just a big space with a very crudely drawn chalk chainsaw on the wall.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, who the fuck does that? Who the fuck draws what is going to be there? And even if it's not there, you know that it's meant to be there, sort of thing. But I thought that was lovely that he grabs the axe and there's the chalk outline of the axe. I was so happy. As happy as you were, I'm sure, when you saw the rafters.
Oh yes.
Possibly. Only I actually saw this.
So Axe then sort of does the slow-mo throw of the axe across the caravan.
To a heroic score.
Yeah, which cuts the Deadite's arm off, covers Pablo and Kelly in blood, and then this is where Ash sort of has his Superman tearing Clark Kent's clothes off, to reveal the blue shirt beneath. Glorious moment. Blue shirt, drags Kelly towards him. Whips the her belt off, which spins her around.
I was convinced that he was going to go for "give me some sugar," but
I'm sure we're going to get there. I'm sure we're going to get there with some character.
Oh yeah,
it's Ruby or Kelly, or there's got to be a sugar line somewhere.
I imagine it will be Kelly, and then he'll get fucking lamped in the face.
Starts sort of like putting his Ash outfit on, and then groundskeeper comes in, and we get the shotgun shoot out the floor.
Yep.
Has a little, absolutely wipes the floor with the groundskeeper guy, smashes his head into the cupboard, shotgun into the cupboard, and says, something like, didn't your mum ever teach you to knock? And then, bang, completely blows this guy's head off. Kelly is there, just as awestruck as sort of, Pablo probably is at this point, and just sort of says, "Who are you?" And Bruce Campbell going back to the line you was like, I told you it would cross your mind at some point.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, you sleazy bastard.
And the look she gives him, it's like, it totally did. That bit's genius. When he hits the floor button and the shotgun pops up, like ready to go, it's like you suddenly sort of realise that he's been running from the Evil Dead. He's been prepared.
Yeah.
Like, no one sets that up and has all of this equipment just lying around, sort of thing. He's been waiting for this day to come.
Yeah.
And it gives
he's
him...
ready. He's ready.
It was a weird thing, because it gave me a lot of... It was sort of a sympathy for him, where it's like, well, maybe the reason his life is so shitty is because this happened, and he's never been able to sort of recreate that heroic high or whatever.
Yeah.
Particularly if it is including Army of Darkness, because he commanded a fucking medieval army in that one, and then went back to his mundane day job.
Yeah.
But I just thought that shotgun popping up, I was cheering. I was literally like, yeah.
It was a heroic moment. It was incredible.
Oh,
it was here's Ash. This is Ash.
Yeah.
Like he's still got it. He's not lost it. He's maybe 30 pounds overweight, but he's not lost it. He's still got everything ready to go.
Yeah. Older, not wiser, but ready to
go. He then, like Kelly says about, the situation with their dad, but he's still like, your dad's going to have to wait. I've got to see a guy about a book.
Yeah.
And he says, like, there's only one thing that these Deadites understand. And then we see he just peels back the curtain or whatever, and it's just this silhouette of a chainsaw. Even though there's other stuff behind there, the only thing that is silhouetted is this gorgeous chainsaw.
Yeah.
And then as he pulls
the music as well, building to a crescendo.
Yeah.
That you would expect to hear, like, when Christ was born.
And then when he pulls the curtain back, lo and behold, Deadite Vivian is under there.
Yep.
And it's during this scene where I think she sort of like she skewers Pablo with a knife through the collarbone against the wall. She like smashes Ash before he gets a chance to shoot her or put the chainsaw on. She's like throwing him against various walls and stuff, and she comes out with one of my favourite lines of the episode, which is it's time to test the mettle of man.
Yeah.
I was just like, that is a good fucking line. Especially for a Deadite, like, it's normally Ash that has the lines, but like that was a good, like, fucking epic line.
Better than "I'll swallow your soul" over and over and over again.
Yeah. there's this big fight scene that plays out. Ash gets sort of like put out of commission pretty early, and Vivian sort of after Pablo's skewered, she's focusing on Kelly, and again, callbacks to the old Evil Dead with the close-ups of the eye.
Yeah.
As she tries to sort of, she says to her like, all I want to do is skewer your eyeballs out or something. And, she's got these long, pointed, horrible fingernails.
Yeah, it looked to me like, were they growing as she was getting closer? They were
I thought they were. It could have just been the way it was like, sort of like they were slowly coming towards her. But I initially thought they looked like they were growing a bit.
Yeah, just very slowly. I mean, it might just be wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that'd be cool.
So yeah. She's, all hope seems lost. Pablo is shouting at Ash saying, you need to step up, you need to be El Jefe, you need to fight this. You're our only hope in this. And Ash then gets up.
Pablo kicks the chainsaw to him.
Yeah, and it almost felt a little bit like Empire Strikes Back.
He did do the Jedi mind trick pose, didn't he?
It felt like, it almost felt like, even though the chainsaw was being thrown towards him, it felt like Ash was reaching out with the Force in that particular bit to try and get his lightsaber. And yeah,
Which
again,
it is the equivalent of that. So.
Yeah. Again, glorious slow-mo shot, lunging midair, clicks in the chainsaw, and then Vivian, leaps towards him. And he does what he does when a chainsaw meets a deadite. There's only one thing that's going to happen, and he absolutely just slices her up.
Yeah, and her head comes off.
And then we have the glorious final scene, final shot. You want to take us out on this one?
Ash stands framed by his shattered home, with Kelly on one side of him just pulling herself back together and Pablo on the other side of him. Pablo asks him, what does he say? Does he say to him...
Says, how does it feel?
No, I think he says to him, hey El Jefe. And he goes sort of, hey back, and he goes, how does it feel? And then, if there was one word that they could finish on that would be absolute perfection, glory of glories, he says, groovy.
Yeah.
And then you get the credits hit instantly.
Yeah, straight away.
Yeah, with an amazing ending credit sequence as well, which just like was an assault on the senses. To end it like that, I was just like, oh my god. I mean, I had to check to make sure I hadn't come everywhere.
I mean, yeah, it was a wonderful moment because like as soon as he said, how does it feel, I was lying in bed with Vicky watching it, and as soon as he said how does it feel, I said groovy at exactly the same time Ash said groovy, because it was only going to be one word. And
that's why you're Ash on the poster for this.
and it was just like, fuck yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, what an opening episode to a season.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's mind-boggling to me watching it through, particularly the second time when I was actually thinking about stuff as well, not just absorbing everything.
Yeah.
I was like, imagine this has happened. We've got the Evil Dead series. We've had talks of an Evil Dead 4 over the years, talks of, numerous comic books, some of which happened, some of which didn't, all sorts of computer games and stuff. And now we finally got this TV series where it does feel like there's nothing about it that doesn't feel like a natural successor to Evil Dead.
Yeah.
The trilogy.
Yeah, well, apparently it was originally being penned as a fourth film in the Bruce Campbell series.
Oh, okay.
But then apparently, like Raimi and that just got too much material. They were just like, TV series. People seem to like TV series more than films these days. So should we just do that? And I'm so glad they did, because as I would, of course, I would have fucking loved and adored another Bruce Campbell Evil Dead film, but the fact that we've got 10 episodes and we've got a season 2 now already commissioned just purely on the previews alone, instead of just okay, here's your film, we might do another one if this one does well, so you'll probably get another one in 3 or 4 years or whatever. We have got Bruce Campbell for 9 more weeks, and then next year we're going to have another 10 minimum weeks of Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. That's around 20 hours of Bruce Campbell. versus the Deadites.
Yeah, it's more Evil Dead. We've got more Evil Dead coming than we've ever had before.
Yeah.
Like, time-wise, it's incredible. It's such an incredible feeling. And yeah, it was just an amazing way to open the season. The season. Yeah,
I think as well, it's going to mean so much because having it on TV gives it such a wider audience, and because they haven't sort of pulled any punches, because they could have watered it right down and made it like, too slapsticky or not gory enough or too focused on the horror. They balanced it perfectly, and it's going to introduce a whole new generation of people to the Evil Dead films. I mean, no one is a loser in this situation. Everyone's won. Newcomers to the franchise, you're going to get to watch Evil Dead 1, 2 and 3 for the first ever time. And old hands, you're getting something new after all these years.
Yeah.
So
it was absolutely amazing. Yeah, like I can't wait to watch the rest of it. Like, like you were saying, I just want to sit down and just watch everything, and and it's I know it's going to be one of the very rare TV series, because as amazing as I love stuff like The Wire and stuff, I'm probably not going to watch that again. Like, one of the only TV series that I've ever watched multiple times is Band of Brothers. As amazing as I think a lot of TV series are, I will watch them the once and then just won't go back and watch them again. The fact that I've already watched this episode twice in one day.
And I'd watch it again. I watched it twice today, and if my kids hadn't come home from a party, I would have watched it a third time there and then.
Yeah. Easily.
It's just so everything, they never miss a beat. The pacing in it is perfect. Everything just came together so beautifully. And I think they'll have no trouble. If the rest of the season is even half as good as that, it would still be so enjoyable to watch. But I mean, I was blown away by it. I was like, what a fucking opening. That is the way you do a TV show. Didn't pull any punches, didn't leave any... I mean, it left just enough mystery with the new characters to make you want to watch more of them.
Yeah,
and none of them
and what
were
I like,
annoying
like I was saying, all the new characters were amazing. They were so good. So I want to know their stories. I want to know what happens to them. Because they were portrayed so well, already. So
I love the idea of Ash having a little sidekick now as well.
Yeah,
who can sort of act as his moral compass.
Yeah, well, I mean, we see in the big sort of 3-4 minute trailer that they did, we see that they do have some very funny dialogue coming up.
It's just an exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's so good.
Yeah, and I bet you none of them would have ever have guessed this. How cool must it have been to be filming like Bruce Campbell in his blue shirt and someone in full Deadite makeup fighting and flicking blood at them and stuff, and how cool must that have felt? It must have felt like, I don't know, like literally like going back in time to Sam Raimi and everyone else who was involved with the originals. Because I believe, is Rob Tapper involved in this as well?
I'm not sure off the top of my head without going on Tinternet.
We'll find that out next week, because we'll be back next week to talk about episode 2.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing, like I said, one of these every week. Hopefully on the Sunday after we've watched the episode. We hope that you've enjoyed it.
Lovely.
If you do want to get involved, if you're listening to this and you've watched the episode yourself, and you want to get involved with the discussion in any way, if you've got your own sort of speculation as to what's going to be going on with any of the characters or anything, or any of your reactions to the episodes, or anything Evil Dead related at all, then email me at butterbum40k@hotmail.com, or you can get in touch with us through, what is it, the Twitters?
The Twitter sphere.
The Twitter sphere. I'm at Timmy Garrett 40k.
Yep, you said that like a question. I'm at Fishmonkey World.
Yeah, we're going to try and put one of these up every week. We are going to put one of these up every week.
Yep.
And we hope that if you have listened to this, you've enjoyed it. It's something a bit different that we're doing, but it's, like I said, it's a franchise that's near and dear to our hearts, and we feel that it's worth the extra special podcast every week.
Definitely. I mean, if that opening had been shite, we would have been like, well,
Yep.
one and then we're done.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll still be putting our regular output of Chit Chat with Tim and Matt out every week. Might be a slight difference on time during the week, but we'll discuss that off air.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week for episode 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead.